All right, all welcome to week 8. Can you believe that we are already at the halfway point for this class? It goes fast. So I know that many of you are probably feeling a little more stressed this week. I know that we have the lab practical and we have the lecture exam. So I'm actually going to push the lecture exam back at least a day and give you until Monday at noon to take that lecture exam. And that way then that will give you time over the weekend to really kind of focus on the lecture exam. So hopefully that will help some of you out. So let's talk about the schedule for this week. So again, I know you know that you have the lab practical. The lab practical it will open on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So that's Wednesday, October 11th at 4 p.m. And then it will close on October 12th. That's Thursday at 11:59 p.m. So I went ahead and updated the due date. I like to give you 2 days because I know there are people that work on Wednesday, there are people that work on Thursday, and there are people that work on both days. And so hopefully this will give you some time to be able to kind of manage when you want to take the exam or the lab practical in there. If for some reason that time frame you are not able to take the exam because you were sent out of town for a business trip or whatnot, please email me and let me know, and that way then we can figure something out. Okay, so let me go ahead and remind you that for the lab practical, use all of these study resources first. So hopefully all the ones that many of you have been using over the weekend. I love that you all shared some ideas on the muddiest point. Someone even had shared an idea of how they were using the labeling exercises, and they actually ended up putting them in those plastic sleeve covers, and then you could test yourself over and over on that. So again, those are great with it, just a dry erase marker. So those are great tools. Please, those are the things that I want you guys to share on that muddiest point. Share those ideas, share any tutorial videos maybe that you found useful, or any type of study tool that you're using, even if it's just a silly song to remember, like the carpal bones or something like that. But please use that site to share resources with each other. I know that many of you have been using like the soft chalk labeling exercises. You can use the StudyMate flashcards. Again, the bone labeling exercises, like someone had shared in the muddiest points. And then I want to remind you, I do have a review session video here. And the reason that I ended up doing a review session video was because I kept trying to do review sessions. And the challenge is that with all of your schedules, and this is after many of semesters of doing this, I would only be able to get like 1 or 2 people to show up to the review session. And so it just didn't seem like it was that useful. So I ended up just recording a review session, and then I go ahead and post it for you. So that way then you can kind of go through that. And then hopefully you've already taken the practice quizzes. Then you can go on and you can take the practice practical. And this I always again suggest that you do after you study. And please remember that when you take this practice practical, that there is no way for me to grade all these practice practicals. So you're welcome to ask me questions, but it may mark you wrong when it would be something that I would mark you correct for. Again, for example, maybe you capitalize tibia, and I obviously don't care whether or not you capitalize it or not. So, and then also remember that, like, let's say, you were 1 letter off. Remember, I don't take off any points if you're 1 letter off, but Canvas isn't smart enough to figure that out. And so keep that in mind as you go through that practice practical. Remember how I grade, and that I will be hand grading all of your practicals. If you have questions on any of the practice practical questions and whether or not you would have gotten the answer correct or not, please just send me the kind of the quick question and then what your answer was. And that way then I can kind of guide you to whether or not you would have gotten that one correct or not. But you can't let me know what the number was, because remember that the practice practical, just like the real practical, it will shuffle the numbers. So you can't send me, number 2. What was the answer to number 2? You're going to have to tell me like what the question was, what the answer was, and then what your answer was. And I'll tell you whether or not you would have gotten that correct. But again, most of you probably can figure that out by now, because if you were, again, just one letter off, then I don't take any points off for that, especially if it, I should say, for the most part, I don't take any points off for that. But again, if you mess up and you put fibia instead of tibia, I don't know whether or not you meant fibula or tibia. So that's a case. There's only a few of those where like that one letter actually makes a difference. But for most of them, when you're just that one letter off, it doesn't make a difference in that overall answer. So again, if you're 2 letters off, then I usually take half, 2 to 3 letters off. I usually take half off. And if there's any more than that, then, it's too far beyond recognition of that word. So let me know if you have any questions on that. Let me move on to, and please feel free to set up some time with me this week if you're struggling before the practical. I'm happy to help you out in any way that I can. So that's with the practical. Again, just like before, you're going to take the practical in Respondus Lockdown Browser and Monitor. And it does record you. Again, I have to watch those recordings. Please be really careful. Again, the last time, some of you are moving a little too fast with your environment checks. So, I can't see when you're like, I just ended up, seeing a blur if you're doing that really quickly. So please kind of go slowly. And it's nice if you talk to me too and you're like, okay, here's my desk or my bed, point your laptop down and say, okay, here's my bed. You can see there's no notes around me. And then here's what's behind me. Here's what's in front of me. And that also helps you kind of slow down for your environment checks. And then make sure that you also can show me some type of picture ID so that I can verify that it is you taking the exam and not someone else. Okay, I think that's all for the practical. Now for the lecture exam, I told you I am going to move back the lecture exam so that way then you guys have the weekend to study. I know many of you are kind of feeling a little bit overwhelmed at this point with all the material, and you're not alone. As many anatomy students can attest. So what we're going to do for this is I will move back the exam. It's not going to open now until Saturday, October 14th at 4 p.m. And again, if this messes you up and you were planning to take it Friday night, please just send me an email and I'll work something out with you. But for the most part, I'm going to open the exam Saturday at 4 p.m. And then I'm going to close the exam Monday, October 16th at noon. And so hopefully that will give you enough of a gap that if you work or again, have family obligations, things like that, that you can find a time that you can comfortably take the exam where you're not rushed. Again, try to keep in mind that when you take the exam, the less stressed you are, the more you can think. So try to kind of take a couple deep breaths, try to relax. If you need to put some relaxing music on, whatever you need to do to make your environment the most comfortable and less stressful. Again, try to remind your roommates not to be streaming large things while you're taking the exam, because it will make the pages load slower for you. So please remind them of that. And then also just, common courtesy to be quiet for you. I know that's hard with roommates, but just remind them that you're taking the exam. And I think that's all I had. Again, this week for lecture, As you're doing for lab, you just have review and then you're taking the lab practical this week. You're just finishing off joints if you haven't already finished it. And then you're going to go ahead and review for the exam. Remember that I do have the review sheets here. So you can download these review sheets, and it has all of the objectives, the lecture objective questions. So hopefully that will help you in terms of guiding you in your studies. I know that many of you use that early on, but I just wanted to remind you, for those of you that possibly forgot about that. And then again, here's where you can link to the lecture exam. Sorry, I will change the date on that. That's not February 11th. So I'll change the date here to the updated time frame of Saturday, October 14th. Again, opening at 4 p.m. and then closing on Monday, October 16th at noon. So hopefully that helps you out. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to ask, and I'm more than happy to set up some time with you if you need to talk, either talk with me via phone or talk with me via Zoom. All right, everyone, happy studying and have a good week and good luck on both your exams, although I know you don't need it.